Is it just me, or is it becoming increasingly clear that labeling an episode a rarity episode is a hallmark of quality entertainment? I have to confess that when I first started watching My Little Pony, I didn't care for Rarity much. But she is developing into one of my favorite characters now. The voice acting and her animation undoubtedly feed into this, but mostly it's that her predicaments just resonate with me.
After a brief but well-narrated exposition, Rarity Takes Manehattan quickly reaffirms Rarity as the most generous of ponies. Not only that, but it explores her generosity according to the criteria I touched on in my reviewing Rarity video. Generosity is not the same as being altruistic or selfless, and thus fits perfectly into this kind of you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours practice that helps Rarity and other ponies further themselves in Manehattan. What makes Rarity stand out is that she displays generosity on a universally wider scale than other ponies. She pays in gems instead of bits to a vast number of ponies with very different social standing, seemingly irrespective of whether they can pay her back or not. In general, generosity does pay off, of course, but not every single time, and there are some very clear pitfalls to acting in such a way. The idea of generosity gets contrasted with that of every mare for themselves. Ultimately, it is shown that both concepts work, but only generosity is sustainable. The payoffs may be more immediate if you follow the idea of every mare for themselves, but it only works for a very limited period of time.
The choice between these two concepts is one that a person keeps having to make in their professional life. On the one hand, no person can ever be self-sufficient entirely, and without giving, there's no getting either. However, giving to others can prove demanding and can lead to exploitation.
It is this exploitation which brings about the most interesting conflict of the episode. No, I'm not talking about Suri exploiting Rarity, but rather Rarity and the rest of the main six exploiting each other during the night before the show. Rarity is in a big crisis and the gang has offered to help. However, it is also the evening of the musical she promised to take them to. Rarity's friends realize the extent of her predicament, they know that Rarity will be lost without their help, and they are working away diligently. However, they still call her out on one of her generous promises, even though the whole point of coming to Manehattan was the fashion show, not the musical. And it's clear what is at stake. Yet Rarity flips very quickly and is terribly rude and aggressive to the friends who have been doing nothing but helping her from the moment she asked them to.
It's a real problem without a clear solution and an obvious baddie to blame. It's a fantastically unengineered problem, which is rare in television shows, and it's one of the reasons why I love MLP.
In hindsight, it may be easy to point to who went wrong where, but the truth is everyone had a point. It's just that it's difficult to behave well when put under pressure, even if your points are valid. What is fantastic is that nobody ends up having to bear the blame, and for me, this is the real lesson of the episode.
You don't always have to be at your best. You don't always have to behave reasonably. Heck, sometimes you're allowed to behave outright rotten.
Just because someone or something is not entirely consistent doesn't mean it deserves to be rejudged. We like the people and things in our lives because they are a certain way generally. We like their make characteristics, and we don't friggin' need to reevaluate them every time they are out of character. Sometimes friends get annoying, sometimes you put too much salt in your favorite dish, and sometimes one of your favorite TV shows is not developing a princess character as well as it should. I suppose you see where I'm going with this, but let me elaborate just a little bit more. Just like I don't mind if sometimes my friends, my sister, my bird, my rowing team, my roast chicken isn't at their best, I don't think it's a problem if My Little Pony isn't perfect at every turn. Yes, the princess arc is underdeveloped. Yes, there are characters I think should be kept as fictional rather than real, and yes, I prefer stories taking place at daytime rather than at night. But then the animation, the facial expressions are much better developed this season, and I personally enjoy the pop culture shout-outs. And most importantly, this show is and has always had amazing voice acting, fantastic visual appeal, funny gags, great songs, and the best friggin' fan community imaginable. The core of it has not changed, and that is the core I will always love it for.
That's it for today. If you want to keep getting updated with what's happening in my life, then make sure to follow me on my socials, where you can see stuff like this amazing pony that my boyfriend had made for me. That is my OC in pony form. I hope you appreciate how amazing it is. What do you think, Abuja?